Hey, I'm Cole Gertis, and today we're going to talk about how to look amazing on camera. Or at least, I don't know, maybe just enough to be dangerous. And today, I am joined by the one and only Bryce Durfee. And before I start, guys, I want to call out, I'm the elephant in the room here. I realized that I invited the most attractive man in the world to talk about how to look good on camera. Oh, goodness. I get it. It kind of seems like a cheat code, but trust me, it's not. Because, and here's how I know, there have been a lot of attractive people that we've known in the past, and they haven't been able to hack it in like a professional setting of being models or of being actors. And you've done both for a very long time. You've been very successful in the modeling game for like 15 years.
Yeah,
and,
plus.
And that is not just being good looking. You have to have an actual skill to know how to behave in front of a camera to do that.
Yes. Well, it's debatable, but maybe. And coming from the most handsome guy, the most handsome guy who also was very successful.
I couldn't hack it.
I would say you did.
I got kicked out very early, though.
I think you chose to get kicked out. Let's be honest.
I don't know.
Somebody was like, "Hey, here's the door," and you're like, "Okay, I'll just go out that door."
Maybe a little bit, but you did much better than I ever thought.
I think I'm dumb enough to stick it out, and here we are 17 years later. I don't know if that makes me successful, but here I am.
Well, regardless, what I'm excited to chat with you about today and why I wanted to do this episode in particular is being in front of a camera scares a lot of people.
Yes.
It's kind of a terrifying thing, and I feel a lot of empathy, honestly, for people who get in front of cameras, and whether it's just a family photo or they're just trying to get a nice photo of them and their husband or spouse or kids or something like that, and they get really nervous. And I think about like my mother-in-law and my mother, honestly. They're both really attractive people. They look amazing most of the time, and they get in front of a camera and they lock up.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I don't think that should be how they behave in front of a camera, because it's not indicative of who they are in real life. And they should have moments of true joy and who they really are for other people to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think classically, and especially older generations, kids now, it's so saturated with Instagram and TikTok. Like, they're very aware of their appearances and how they should kind of act and be. And they see people and they kind of emulate that, right? But like our generations, we had disposable cameras and like Polaroids, like
one shot.
Yeah, and it was such a static thing. It was like, all right, cheese, and everyone just kind of like froze there with their eye. Like, so I don't think people were ever like properly trained to take a photo. You know what I mean? There's also like the stigma, like men are so not confident in front of a camera, and it's, you know, where we're from in small towns, you just stare at the camera. Yeah. And you almost look angry, and I'm like, I get it, you're terrified, you know what to do. But
do not smile.
Do not smile, you show you're weak.
Yeah, they're going to see your insides.
Yeah, and so I think there's part of that, and so, I don't know, on those family photo shoots, it's awkward.
Yeah.
It can't not be, right? Or even professional photos, if you don't do it every day, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's, now, luckily, you can take 1 million of them. Right. And you can throw all the bad ones away.
Exactly.
And so that's a really great thing. But at the same time, I think it makes it so that you almost want to take the photos less because they became a little meaningless. Yeah. You know, it's like, who's going to go back and look at this? Who's going to sift through all of those photos?
40,000 photos, yeah.
And so then it kind of flipped to the other side, where before it was really precious and you had one shot and you had to make it right. And now it just kind of became, whatever. Yeah. We'll cut one of it together. They'll AI my face in later.
It's so sad, but that's so true.
Yeah.
That's literally how
they're going to put Brad Pitt on this later.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's Tom Cruise on you.
I mean, they do that. Like, in family photos now, they can digitally move people's faces. And
we did it once.
Silly things. You did
where
it?
we had all of the grandkids. So my kids, my brother's kids, my parents, and we had all of us. And so there were, 17 of us, I think, 17 or 18 of us. And we couldn't get all of the kids to look good at the same time. And so we did that little filter where they just took the kid's face off and took them from the other photo.
And
you only needed half of them to look
17 people is kind of extreme. I mean, even like in a professional modeling job, if there's more than 3 people, forget about it. I'm looking over here. Someone's looking down. Someone's smiling. Someone looks angry.
See, this is
It's
where,
a tough sell.
when you're talking about the professional modeling, I was always the one who looked horrible. Like everybody else looked at, and I got like half the face cut off and all of those.
That sounds biased, but also maybe true. They're like, we're just going to shift him down in the frame a little bit. It'll be fine.
Yeah. There was this one image I always think of. I was in German GQ. And it was.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, it was like their 50th anniversary or 100th anniversary. It was a very long.
From New York, or was that out here in LA?
That was out here.
That was out here. Okay.
And it was a party scene, and everybody was like popping champagne and everything else. And there was supposed to be the scene where all of us were lined up, and they were like, "Okay, guys, you're having a party," and everybody was just stoic. No, nary a smile. A lot of distant looks, and I was I was like, I just
right.
died.
You were in a party. You were like, I'm at a party having fun.
And I saw it, and that one made the cut in the magazine, and everybody else is just straight up stoic, and I'm just dying laughing because I thought that's what we were doing there, and it turns out that's not what we were doing.
Yeah, but I think you were. Nobody else got the memo, and then they're like, well, this guy looks weird now, so let's just take the stoic people.
Well, regardless, I stood out.
On that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
So in coming in front of a camera, I'm really intrigued to hear kind of your process, because one of the things I've always admired of you in front of still frames and in front of videos, whether you're acting or you're modeling, you're so natural. Like you look so comfortable. And I like to think that I'm comfortable, but I think my energy's too high. I don't look comfortable anywhere. I look like I just want to like run and play or something.
I don't know if that's true. Yes. Okay. I understand what you're saying, but like, I feel the same way. I think it's just a fake it till you make it mentality. I mean, I've been doing this, I don't know, 17 years now, and I still show up on some sets and I'm not that comfortable. And I've got to like get myself through the first part of the day. And then eventually I'm like, okay, now I'm in a rhythm. Now I kind of understand what's going on, but it's hard. I mean, it's scary.
How do you do that? How do you set yourself up to be able to make it seem natural?
I think most people look at a photo as a static thing, right? You're like, it's still, but it's not really still. Like really good photos involve movement.
Yes.
The camera captures you in that movement.
Yeah.
But that's it. Other than that, you're not static. Nobody steps up to a camera and goes like, you look like a crazy person, right? But
It's the Chandler Bing.
Exactly. It's the Chandler Bing. But if, say, in a natural moment, somebody called your name and said a light joke, you'd kind of give like a nice smile, right? Like a little bit of a laugh. And if that camera captures you in that moment, it's a beautiful picture.
Kind of an old modeling trick of just looking away from the camera and then looking back at it when it's time to go.
Totally.
Can you like do you use that, and can you talk about it a little?
I use it every shoot. Literally every shoot, there's not a shot where I do not look away and come back to camera. In some moment, even if it's like I need to, say it's an e-com job where I need to stay pretty static.
Yeah.
I will just turn my eyes down and then back up to camera. And then
even just that little movement.
Just a little bit.
Just move your eyes.
Just to like get myself away and then come back. It gives you new facial expression. And what I like to do is pretend as if, somebody called my name off camera.
Oh, that's
or
good.
said something. So like, in a natural moment, like if I'm over here and I'm saying like doing something, you called my name, I just look back and it's like this really natural moment, and it sounds silly, but you get these really good images that way.
Oh, and what's cool, because you just did it to me, and it was like,
nice,
it felt good. It felt like you hadn't seen me in a while.
Right, exactly.
Like it felt new.
Yeah.
Because your eye line had changed, and then by the time you came back, like the energy, even though it was small, the energy changed.
But it's big, right? Yeah. It's palpable. You can feel it.
When you hear movement, I always think of like somebody in like a big duster jacket, or something, like throwing it up in the air and being like, oh, it's massive.
It's big.
I better have a fast shutter speed, and like I'm jumping off a building.
Yes.
It's tiny.
It's tiny. It's small movement. I also think a lot of people, I'm going to say acting as the term, but everyone's going to be like, well, I don't act. But you do. Like in day to day, say you're at a grocery store and somebody's having a really awkward conversation with you, but you want to make them feel like you're amused by the conversation, right? So you kind of give like a little smirk, and you're kind of nodding, and you're doing one of those. Like it's as simple as that. Like if you say the camera is somebody having a conversation, you could kind of give one of those little smiles, like a really natural, light smile, where you're kind of listening or something. Like there's things
story.
you can trick yourself into having that movement without having to do a whole lot.
Yeah. What's the story of the photo? You know, what are you wanting to say,
To convey,
I guess?
And
you know, was it that you guys are all having a really good time? If so, have a good time.
Right.
And even if it's only in your head.
Right.
There's like the thing of, you know, looking at the camera like it's your best friend.
Yes.
You know, and that's hard.
That's hard.
It's hard because the camera's a machine.
Cold, shiny object.
And yeah, there's somebody behind it, but odds are if somebody's taking the picture, they're probably not your best friend because your best friend's in the picture with
next to you in the picture with you. Yeah.
And so if you can just make that mental shift of it's happening up in here of like, this is
fun.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't have to be the camera. You don't have to like convey that.
Yeah. Which I think goes back to our confidence thing, right? Like if you can trick yourself into that mentality, all of a sudden you'll start feeling confident in front of the camera and you won't care about it so much. You'll take the pressure off of this one image you got to take, right?
Yes.
And you'll just be there and then you're going to get really cool images.
Yeah. And being able to vocalize what you want to beforehand. So if you have a professional photographer, if it's just somebody, you're at Disneyland and you tell somebody, like being like, hey, I'd love the sign behind us. And I want to make sure we're here. And that way you're not worried about like, oh, the angle's bad. They're not doing this thing. That's sometimes stressful.
It's very stressful.
Especially if it's not somebody you know.
Right. Well, and that's how, like, my wife loves to do this when we're out in public. If she has somebody else take a photo, she's like, can you shoot it wide? Can you shoot it tall? Oh. Can you shoot it high? Can you shoot it low? She wants every variation because she knows that. She's already aware that someone's just going to step up and take a terrible photo, and then we're going to be like, well, that's not a great one. But if you give people parameters like that, it's also going to make you feel better. Right?
I know I got what you wanted.
Yeah. You're going to be like, okay, one of these is going to be from an angle which I approve, or I'm going to feel like I got something. And then it really does take the pressure off of that one perfect photo that you really wanted from Disneyland on that day.
If you take like a stranger's photo, I don't know about you, but I always, like, I'll hand it back. I'll say, oh, yeah, here you go.
Oh, yeah. Approval? Did I do a good job? Always. I'm like, why don't you just scroll through those?
You just check
Did you like that one I did right there? That was pretty.
That was good, right? Did you like when I said the joke and then you guys laughed and I did it? That was good, right?
That was pretty good, huh? I totally do the same thing.
So it takes all of that weirdness out to just get it out of the way first. Yep. That's a good one in general. I mean, just in life, saying what you want and not being uncomfortable. That's a good life lesson.
That's a good life lesson.
You know,
say what you want.
Yeah.
Don't be passive.
But that's good. And it takes the other stuff out of your mind. Because right then, if you can just be present, if you can tell the story in your mind of where you are, the joy you're having, and just be present in that moment, you're going to create energy.
Yes, fully.
That energy, it exudes. Like the inside energy 100% is visible on still frames.
Yes. I mean, that's why everyone loves candid photos, right? Because it's you living life and somebody captured that moment. You didn't step in there. You didn't go like, okay, it's time to take the photo and then go back. Like it feels more like it was a natural moment that happened, and that's it.
Yeah. Candid is so different than stage. I'd love to talk a little bit about that. In that, like a staged photo, we stand here, we get the picture, we move on. Candid photo, somebody is just, you're living life. We probably can't get into like what to make that special about because it's impossible. It is just the moment. But I'd say, like, if you do know that a camera's around and people are getting candids, try not to tense up.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes it seem. That's what makes it not as good. Those aren't the ones that you're going to look back on. Are the ones where somebody was over here and you're in a big party,
rigid,
and you're just sitting there waiting for the camera to go by. But if you just live in the moment and just let it go by, it's going to be good. It's going to be something that you can look back on and appreciate that time that you had.
Fully. I mean, even in like a professional photo situation, I mean, as you know this, and a lot of people I don't think know this, like almost 90% of the images are just us moving around and living in the space and doing things, right? They probably get 3 good photos out of 100 frames. Yeah. They're blinking, looking, whatever. There's all these things that happen, and that's fine. Those 3 that you get are really, really good photos. Yeah. So I think if people can also kind of take that to heart, like, yes, you have to kind of filter through the photos, but take a bunch. Don't be afraid. Like, yeah, you're going to take a couple bad ones, but like you're going to find one in there that you really like, and you got to know that.
Yeah. And even if it's only good of half the people, it's still,
then so be it.
It's
your Instagram. You put whatever photo you want up. I'll tell you that right now. You don't choose their good looking.
You get to curate your life, guys. That's what
and
Instagram
then that's
is.
why the joke is, right? Like, oh, go look at their tag photos. Let's see what they've got.
Just delete those tagged ones. Get those out of there. So like going back to the staged photos, sometimes you're like, yeah, let's get a photo of us looking like angry pirates in front of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's and I think sometimes that's harder, like to play a part
fully
in a photo.
Yes, you got to be more invested, right?
Yeah, you got to buy in.
You've got to buy in, like fully buy in. Otherwise, it doesn't read.
Yeah, so you got to be a pirate.
You got to be a pirate. It's the only way. Legs and eye patches, baby.
Yeah, you better visit that gift shop.
Like, here's a funny thing. I actually did a pirate Halloween costume ad one time.
Oh,
and it was the most.
Remember that?
It was the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever shot, and it was like, it killed my ego a little bit for that reason. I was like, I'm not committed to this pirate game. I'm not.
Go to Spirit, guys, and you're gonna see the pirate costume is probably still Bryce. Why would they shoot another one? Why would they
still me?
Let's
see. There's a pirate. There's a police officer and an inmate. So just so you know, all me with a fake beard drawn on.
Oh man, I love it. I hope that they never reshoot those. The year's 2050, and Bryce Durfee is still in Spirit.
Yeah.
You made $12 on that.
Maybe 12.
Like buying into those is kind of fun when you see those things that are staged, but experiences. Mm-hmm. I think of this one time, my family, when I was very young, we had this time in a baseball museum, and they got you dressed up. And
totally know where you're going. Yep.
My mom dressed up as the catcher. I was the hitter. My mom was the umpire. My brother was the catcher, and I was the hitter. And I just like hit a home run. They like pulled the masks off and stuff, and but we're fully dressed up, and that made it so easy because you had all the accessories. You visited the gift shop.
Yes.
And for that, it was like, you're so bought in. And that photo's great. My parents still have it on their wall.
Yes.
Of that moment. But it was a little easier because we had all the accessories. We were in an area.
Right. You were already immersed in it. So it was like, well, all we have to do is... I
didn't need too much imagination.
Yeah. Well, that is the Gertis family.
Man, that's our weak spot.
Yeah, exactly.
But to be able to do that without all those accessories is still just that mental game. Just being able to own it and kind of tell yourself, like, this is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing. You got to work a little harder at it.
Yeah.
But if you do, it's really cool.
And it's fun. Then you get that really cool photo, that one that everybody always looks back on and goes, that was a really cool time, even though it was only a staged 5 seconds.
Yeah. But you remember it. You remember how you felt in that moment, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, if they could just drop their ego and play in those moments, I think they would have a lot of fun, and they would look back at those photos and think about it fondly like that. You know what I mean? Like, most people are so scared to let themselves go in that moment because they want to look cool in the photo, or they want to look whatever, but it doesn't actually work. Like, that's the funny thing. When you attempt to look cool in a photo, you just look awkward and scared.
Yeah.
It doesn't play.
I've attempted to look cool in photos, and it doesn't work very well.
It's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell. I don't find myself to be very cool. So, like, when I'm on jobs with really cool guys, I'm always like, shit. He just is living this. I've got to pretend all damn day. He's got that leather jacket on. He rolled up on a motorcycle. I'm like, I got my little fuel efficient hybrid, and
talking about miles per gallon in the back.
Doesn't play, but I can put on the face and get the images.
Yeah,
I just don't live that existence.
Yeah, but it's if you can do it in those little short spurts and really buy into it.
Yeah,
and
kind of back to your point, like. So I've got this client I work for, Strauss. Shout out Strauss.
Oh.
It's a German workwear
company.
#PayDad. Yeah, there it is. Every single shoot, because it's workwear, we're like on a farm, we're on a construction site, we're at a plant. I've got like tools in my hands. I'm throwing hay bales around.
Oh, yeah.
I am so immersed in the moment that every photo is just a real photo of me doing work, but they look really cool. And I'm not doing anything. Yeah. Like those are my favorite days.
There's
I just
one
show up,
hay bale.
Yeah. You throw it, you pretend but you're having fun, you're in the moment, and you get these really cool images. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing anything extra. I'm not paying attention to the camera. I'm not worried about the camera. I'm just being in the moment, and then they're capturing the moment, and it's obviously a whole idea of what we've been talking about, but it's such a cool thing, even within professional modeling, where you'd think we'd have more of those opportunities. It's one of the few jobs I have where I get to show up and just be, and I don't have to kind of fill the gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, because you normally are very much in a set.
Yes, confined into a set.
If you're taking a photo or a video, there's a camera. And oftentimes you're looking directly
at it.
down the barrel
Yep.
to get the shot that you want. Because a lot of people want we're standing here, we're looking at it. And, we talked about how it's to pretend it's your friend is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But if you can just look past it, that's another one that I find to be very helpful is if a camera's a little bit away and you can look just past it.
Right.
And then really kind of pretend like it's not there, you're going to get a decent photo because you're not so focused on like laser focusing your eyes. And I find for me too, I get some of that like kind of dead eye a little bit sometimes in photos.
Like you're like tunnel vision-y where you're staring too hard.
Because you're so focused on the pinpoint.
Yep.
You want to make sure your eyes aren't kind of focused on something else or that you're not the only one looking at the camera. But if you look just past it, just a little bit off, you'll get
just
a
over
really
the top.
nice too.
And then you could use the pretend your friend's over there. Then you could be like, oh, hey, okay, you can imagine somebody pass. When you're staring at that thing, it's a little scary, but you could pretend like your friend's over there.
And it takes some of the pressure off because now you don't know when they're shooting because you're not looking at them.
Right.
You're not seeing them click the shutter.
Right, you're not watching the shutter literally close in between.
Yeah. So to be able to get past that and to kind of just not look at it, and it makes it feel like it's a in the moment photo a little bit more.
Way more. When you're trying to stare down the barrel of the camera, you're so fixated on that one spot, right? You're like, don't look away. And then you almost look like you're a little crazy because you don't want to avert your eyes.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking past the camera, you don't have a fixed point. You can look a little to the left, and then on the next photo, maybe you're looking a little above the camera or whatever. You can shift your eye line back to our like micro adjustments. You can do these small little movements, and it looks really nice when you kind of look different places, and then you can choose. But when you're right there, you got nothing. That's it. You're just right there.
And if you all collectively, if there's 10 of you, and you say, we're going to look at this one dot, guys, then you're all looking at the same thing too. There's not that concern of
everyone looking in a strange place.
Yeah.
I do love when the photographers are like, all right, here it is. Just look at my hand, everyone. And then the hand's moving behind the camera.
Yeah.
Just like a ping pong game.
I'd like to talk a little bit about what to do with the rest of your body. Because the Ricky Bobby effect is very real.
It's very real.
I don't
know what to do to my hands.
Never know what to do with my
floating
hands.
up in the frame. It's true. It's true.
And putting your hands in your pockets sometimes works. Sometimes it makes it look like you just have big hands in your pockets.
Big old hands. Never ball your fist, by the way. Just a pro tip. If you're putting your hands in your pockets, flat hands. It looks strange when you got two bald fists.
Just clutching your car keys.
Don't do that, viewer. Don't do that.
The hands, it's so weird because I learned this probably too late in like the professional career of it looks so much less weird if you literally just leave your hands by your side, even though it feels weird. But if you just let them go by your side, it actually looks the most natural.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to do something with them.
Yeah. It's weird and it feels awkward, right? Because like you feel like you should do something with your hands. You don't need to do anything with your hands.
If you can just keep them by your side and just not try to do something with them, it's so much more organic and natural. But it feels weird. It feels like you should do something.
It does. And I think everyone feels that way. Even I, who do this professionally, feel like I should do something with my hands.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. And like, okay, we're going to go back to movement again. If you can just add like a little movement to whatever you're doing, it's going to feel easier having them down by your side. If you don't feel so static, you're not going to feel like a 5th grade boy taking his first day of school photo, right? You're not just be like stuck to your side. Just like, I don't know, as if you just stepped into frame, your body would be loose, right? It's that kind of mentality. If you can just keep that, it's fine. Or if your buddy's there and you guys had like punch him on the arm or do some kind of thing right before the photo.
Yeah.
And you're going to loosen up and you put your hands back down. That's not going to feel so strange.
Yeah. Kind of shake it out. And what is it? Kind of just like a little arm shimmy and then, just shimmy it out.
It does work.
Just kind of come straight up. And you go back to where you would be without
naturally, right, exactly.
Your shoulders up,
all shrugged and all weird,
and all the tension, and just really tight neck. Yeah. That's a good way to get rid of it, is just to kind of shimmy a little bit.
Here's the thing: I think this applies to professional modeling, but I think most people could benefit too. And it's going to sound really conceited, but like, stare at yourself in the mirror. Like, find things where you feel like you look good and try that out. Like, if you make weird hand movements in a photo, stand in front of a full-length mirror and like pretend like you're about to take a photo. Like, find things that feel natural to you, so next time you get into that situation, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a sport. You wouldn't roll up to a professional basketball game without playing basketball first, right? You wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to figure this out when I get there. Like, do something ahead of time so you feel confident and comfortable in that moment. I mean, when we first started modeling, you remember this when we were in New York, they said, look at advertisements that you think look really good, and then go home and stare in the mirror and emulate those and try to find things that you really like. And then you also kind of find your own personality within that. And you try to figure out, like, all right, this is what looks good for me. This is what I like. You could do that same thing at home and get that awkwardness out of you. Yeah. So next time you could step up to the camera and just be good on camera for anything.
I love that, because it is, it's something that would get labeled as conceited if you talked about it.
Right.
But it really is just kind of enjoying this part of your life. And honestly, photos, love it, hate it, try to do a bunch of it or don't do much of it. That's what we have when we're gone.
Yeah.
That's what your family's going to have when you're gone. That's what your friends are going to have when they don't see you for 10 years. And I would argue that it's actually doing a disservice to not take these photos, to not put yourself out there and make this moment something special for you and for your loved ones. Because going back to like my mother-in-law and my mother, they won't let us take photos with them because they are uncomfortable.
Right. And they don't like the final result.
They don't like the final result. Yeah. And honestly, it kind of breaks my heart, because when my kids are older, they're not going to have those memories. They're going to have a few photos with their grandparents. Yeah. Instead of every time they came out, we got 20 photos together and they were all fine. They don't have to be the best thing ever, but just let us take them, get a little better. But if they practiced, if they did this, if they went in front of a mirror and got good at it, or at least enough to be dangerous.
Right. Enough to be dangerous. Hey.
If they did that, we would have a lot more photos, and our family would be able to share that when they're gone or when they're just not here.
Yeah. I think you have two options in that moment, right? You either need to drop your ego and just take all the bad photos ever, and who cares, or learn how to be good in them if that's what you want it to be. But you're right. I agree. Like, I think everybody should get over that hump so they can share those memories. And if they do it selflessly for those reasons, for family and, memories down the road, I think they would put in the effort.
I agree. Yeah.
But I don't think anybody proposes it like that to them, right? They think like, well, this is all about me. Yeah. It's like, it's not about you. It's about everybody else. And my wife and me talk about this all the time, because everybody hates photos and my wife loves them. Mm-hmm. So we take photos all the time. I mean, you see our Instagram. We take a lot of photos. And it's fun, but like, you get other people around us and they're always like, oh no, oh God, no, I gotta get over here. And it's like, just calm down and be in the photo with us. Like, we're doing something cool. Yeah. Let's capture the moment. And in 4 years, we're gonna look back and you're gonna be so bummed that you're not in all these photos with us on this cool vacation or whatever we're doing.
I don't know anybody who looks back and goes, sure glad I don't have a video or photo of that.
I look like shit that weekend. I'm glad I didn't take that photo.
Glad I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, idiots. Yes. Thank goodness.
Right.
The practicing is underrated. And that is such a good call out of something that you can take into your own hands.
Yes. And sorry, I want to stop you real quick. I think right now, I would say a majority of women probably already do this.
Oh, do you think so?
I think so. Your typical male doesn't put in a lot of effort. I think most women are very aware of that, and they want to look good in photos, and so they are, I think, thinking about that. Maybe not quite that far where they're like practicing poses in the mirror, but I don't think men think about that at all.
I'd agree.
Don't you think so? I think women are aware of this whole situation, and I think guys actively avoid it until all of a sudden the camera's pulled out, and then they're terrified and they have to take a photo, and then it's over and it's done.
Yeah, yeah. Just pray and hope that it goes away soon.
So if guys can get over their ego a little more than women, I think they should do this practicing in the mirror thing.
The difference between what we think is horrible and what we think is the best picture of us ever taken is so small.
Yes.
It's the tiniest micro movement you can possibly imagine, and it's not a lot that makes it so drastically different. And so if you're practicing, you're going to get better at getting into that mode that you really like. But then also, I think you'll start to realize that those ones that you thought were really bad of you
We're actually really good.
were actually really good.
Yeah.
That it wasn't that you looked horrible, but there was something in it that in your mind, it wasn't the exact way that you see yourself, but it wasn't a bad photo.
Yeah. Often, this happens to me in a lot of shoots. I will take some shots on the day and I will see some, because as they're shooting, you can see the monitor, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, oof, that wasn't a good one. I think that. I honestly do. I'm like, oh, that was a terrible photo and that was a bad one. Oh, that looks miserable.
Those are the ones in the magazine?
Yeah, those are the ones in the magazine, always. But then enough time has passed where I forgot my mentality that day on set.
Yeah.
And so when I see him 4 months later, I go, that's a good fucking
photo.
nice photo. Yeah.
Look at that.
So I think
I was having fun.
Yeah, there's like part of that where like in the moment, your brain is definitely tied to it in a negative way, right? Because you have already decided what you want it to look like and it doesn't look that way. But then you do see it later and you realize that's actually the way it was meant to look. And I, on the day, was just caught up in my own head.
Yep. Getting out of your own way with it. It's such a big piece. There's a lot to taking photos. It is mental, obviously. We talked about that. Like being able to play the game, getting past the being in a photo, acting natural, all of that stuff. But also keeping that mentality once you see the photo, being able to like tell yourself, this is good. I'm going to like this later. Don't delete every single one of these because I didn't look 100% the way that I did in my mind.
Yep.
And that is such a cool experience to have and look back on, because that the same way, like people saying, oh, I'm sure glad I wasn't in this photo 4 years ago.
Right.
They're oftentimes very sad that they had deleted memories. And I've known a lot of those experiences where people go, yeah, I didn't like the way or I was 5 pounds too heavy.
I know. Yeah.
And so I deleted all of it. And now that part of me's
right. Like
erased.
you erased months maybe of your existence.
Sometimes years of your life.
And I think people don't understand. No one cares as much as you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody sees that photo and goes, oh my God, look at Karen. She is looking a little thicker today. Like, nobody does that. You're the only person that does that.
Yeah.
So if you can get out of your own head, everybody else sees that photo and goes, oh my God, look at Karen having the best time with her family at such and such. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one cares.
I also want to just, listen, I don't know who's watching or who will watch, but I want to also just like pause and say that if there are people who are struggling or who are like, I don't want to take any photos because I'm not what I want to look like. And listen, I want to again call out, I realize I invited the most attractive man on the planet to like talk about this, but everybody deserves to have photos. Like it does not, what you look like compared to anybody doesn't matter. It's your life. And so I want to just like kind of make that call out of like, if anybody has ever said like, you shouldn't have photos, you shouldn't be in photos, fuck those people.
Seriously.
Those people are dicks and I hate them. Like everybody should have photos of themselves.
Yes.
And everybody should like has the right to be like, I existed and this is what I look like when I existed. So making that call out, because being
fuck
mean,
those guys.
Being mean is for the birds.
We ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Ain't got no time for that.
Bryce, I want to thank you for coming.
Wow. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Because I really do think that this is something that a lot of people can benefit from. I appreciate this. And, I think you gave a lot of really great insight that hopefully helps some people take some really incredible photos.
Well, thanks, man. I hope I did.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Wow. Look at us.
That was fun, right?
It was fun.